Okay, so this should be the last geometry video. This is lesson 24A. These are the last two postulates, or last two proofs that we're doing. So this is number 9 through 14, covering this one. It's the third one. So I've drawn figure ABCD, kind of an odd-shaped little figure, and went ahead and set everything up like the book has it. So I'm given that AB, line segment here, is congruent to CB. So I went ahead and marked those, and they're actually shown on the book like that with two lines, so that these are the same. We're also given that AD is congruent to CD, so one mark. And we're to prove that triangle ABD is congruent to CBD. So, not given any statements, so we need to establish our four statements. We need to establish our reasons for a couple of those statements. And we're given reflexive is going to be a reason, and then the SSS, side-side-side postulate. So we know that we need to look for three sides. We're given two that are equal, and then told pretty much that one's going to be reflexive, so it shouldn't be too difficult to figure this one out. But let's work through it. So 9 and 10 can actually be could be flipped around. Either way is fine, as long as you're establishing what is given first. So I'm going to go ahead and say that line segment AB is congruent to CB, and that's a side, and I know that because it's given. You can also say that line segment AD is congruent to CD. That establishes another side. So I know that these two sides of the triangle are congruent to each other, respectively, and that's given. Now what about my reflexive one? What side can I say is equal because of the reflexive property? So that would be line segment BD. So line segment BD is congruent to line segment BD because of the reflexive property. So then I've established three different sides of congruency. So I've established that triangle ABD is congruent to triangle CBD. And that is because of the side-side-side postulate. Okay, last one. Okay, so our figure here, kind of gotta, I'm just so bad at these. Okay, it's odd shape, I did my best. So we have AB, and then C and D. We are given that this figure, ABCD, is a rhombus, and we're told to prove that triangle ABD is congruent to triangle CDD. Okay, so ABD is congruent to CDB. And we're to establish or provide all 5 statements, so it's 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19, when we're given all the reasons. So the first thing is going to be something that is given. The second is definition of a rhombus. The next reason is definition of a rhombus, reflexive property, and lastly, we're going to prove that these triangles are congruent because of the side-side-side postulate. So we're looking for 3 sides. So what is given to us? Well, there's only one piece of information, so we can plug that in our statement, that ABCD is a rhombus. Which technically means what? So it means that all the sides are congruent. So definition of a rhombus, well, that lets us establish that AB is congruent to CD. So line segment AB is congruent to CD because the definition of rhombus, and then CB or else their AD is congruent to CB. Because of the definition of a rhombus. By the way, either of these can be flipped. It doesn't matter which side that you establish, because you're building upon this premise here. So as long as they're logically following that, then that makes sense. If they came way down here, it might not make as much sense, or definitely cannot have them before that you just stated ABCD as a rhombus. So this is kind of our thinking behind our project if you give a mouse a cookie. Just establishing logical sequences in order of events. Okay, reflexive property. So what side or line segment can we say is equal or congruent because of the reflexive property? So that would be BD. So line segment BD is congruent to line segment BD because of the reflexive property. So lastly, we've established that three sides are congruent. And if we know that three sides are congruent, we know the triangles are congruent. So using the side postulate. Go ahead and make sure you check out the link that I'm also sending. I know I like the way that Matthew C. does it because they give you blanks. They really encourage it. It's not just a blank proof and then you have to guess what's going on. But they do fill some of it in for you. But I sent you a link to have an interactive version. And I think it's good. It lets you visually see the shapes that you're dealing with, working on that, getting used to what corresponds to what. Because that's going to take some practice. So making sure that you're checking your homework on 23 and understanding corresponding parts of a triangle. So that's going to be key to this next part with proofs.